Did Bubba Watson cheat during round 2 of the LIV event at Bedminster? Did he cheat? We're going to get into this. Another cheating scandal. I don't know if I'd call it a scandal, but we're definitely going to talk about it. Before we do, thanks so much for tuning in to the podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss anything that drops, because we're getting out the good golf stuff that's happening out there, and whether it's professional golf, social media golf, whatever it is, we're talking about it, hopefully in an engaging, fun, exciting way. Okay, let's dive into what happened during the second round with Bubba Watson. Now, I want to say this first off, okay, I am not blaming Bubba at all for this. I am not calling Bubba a cheater. I am not casting him in the same category of other people who have had some issues over the years, okay? I'm not doing that. And you know who those people are. One of such people are currently on the LIV roster. Okay, so I'm not saying Bubba is a habitual, chronic cheater at all, okay? And I don't even blame him for doing this. And what he did, I think, was subconscious. My question is it illegal? All right, so I'll show you the video that I've procured in just a second. But let's go back. During this event at Bedminster in New Jersey, they were primarily playing lift, clean, and place. All right, so that happens frequently, not only on LIV, but on the PGA Tour. It happens all over tours around the world. And it happens a lot here in the summer, especially when you're playing kind of East Coast or whatever, and South or East. And I believe the PGA Tour even had this rule in effect the same week. So if it's wet and soggy, your ball plugs, it gets a lot of moisture on the ball. It's kind of unfair. So they give you the lift, clean, and place rule, typically in tightly mown areas. So if you miss the fairway, too bad, so sad, you got to play it as it lies, whether it's got a chunk of mud on it or whatever, it doesn't matter. It only applies in the fairways or what they call tightly mown areas, which would be kind of the tight fringe around the greens. Now, when they do this kind of thing, scores are typically a lot lower because you get your ball in hand is what they call it. You get to clean it and you get to place it right there on the just nice and neat. Place it right there, and there's a premium. The guys who hit it in the fairway those weeks are going to win. Because it's almost like cheat. It's not cheating because everybody gets to do it, right? So this is where there's some gray area here. Now, a lot of times, and you'll see this a lot, and you'll hit it in the fairway when you're playing this rule. Let's say there's a divot. You got to place it within an area close to where you marked your ball. No closer to the hole would be the rule. So you put a tee down where your ball is. You can go kind of in this, let's say, they might say 3 feet, 2 feet, 8 inches, whatever the local rule is. Typically, it's within like 2 feet in the same cut. So you wouldn't be able to move it, let's say, from the fairway to the rough. But, right, why would you do that anyways? But who knows? So you might do that if you're close in the green, like you're on a super tight lie and it's a little mushier than you like. You might move it out of the first cut, like that tight fairway, into a semi-cut, a lighter cut rough, just so you have a little more cushion under the ball, and then chip. That would kind of be the only scenario where I would think you might want to do that. But typically they say it has to stay in the same cut, and it has to be within a foot, 2 feet, 8, whatever the distance is that they come up with. No closer to the hole. And you'll see a lot of times, let's say there's a divot in that area. Sometimes what you'll do is you might be able to place your ball on the edge of that divot. So here's the divot. There's a hole dug out of the earth of the fairway, and then you set your ball like on the edge of where the divot meets the grass. And there's a little ledge right there. And you place your ball like 50-50 on that. And okay, so now you can come in with your iron really crisp. It's almost like teeing up the ball, right? So if you luck out and that happens, fantastic. you saw a lot of players hit driver off the deck, in particularly Cam Smith. He had a couple drivers off the deck. A lot of guys were doing it, and they're carrying it like 280 yards, driver off the deck. That's ridiculous. I mean, just getting these high shots with driver into uphill par fives. Cam Smith did it. I'm like, there's no way he's going to do it. But again, it was ball in hand. So you could also have an area that's just kind of sitting up right in that zone. You look around, there's an area that's sitting up, place my ball on that. That's perfectly legal. It's just kind of, you got lucky, right? There's a little mark, a scuffed up piece of grass that's kind of sitting higher than the rest, and you place your ball right on top of that little guy. We've all done it. Now, if that doesn't happen, what can you do? Well, you just look for the nicest piece of grass around you. Okay, so let's take a look at what Bubba does. So, Bubba is looking around, and he goes to place his ball down, and he backs up, taps his club down on the grass, and then places his ball down. Did you see what he did? He's there, and he's tapping the grass with his club, and then he places his ball down. And then he proceeds to hit a shot on the 18th hole, and he goes and makes a birdie. Okay, I don't think he consciously did this like, I'm going to cheat. Like, if you're going to cheat and tap down the grass, you might look around, like, do one of those. He just is looking, tap, tap, tap. You know there's cameras. You know stuff's going on. So I think it's just subconscious what he did there. Is that cheating? Do you consider that cheating? Like, did he break the rules? That's what I want to know. I think he did, because if you stepped on the grass with your foot, I've seen this, guys will step and then they'll back up and then they'll place their ball on the ledge of where the indentation of that your foot made, and the part of the grass that you didn't touch, there's a little ledge, and you place your ball right there, and then you go hit your shot. He kind of looked, did a little tap, and then set his ball right there, almost as if he's tapping down a spot to put his ball right next to it or on top of the spot next to it, so he has that little, ledge to set his ball on. Now, he didn't bang it. He didn't get a driver 3-wood out there and smack it down like other players have done in the past while they're in the rough. You know who I'm talking about. But he just kind of tapped it down. Here's where I think the problem lies. Not with Bubba. I think it was subconscious. I don't think he was paying attention. He just did it and whatever. Here's the problem. LIV Tour is trying to get credibility and legitimacy with their tour. And, all right, they've got a lot of things working against them. One is 3 rounds of golf instead of 4. So they don't get the credibility of the PGA Tour. Like, we're not going to give you world ranking points because you're 3 rounds, not 4. So it's exhibition golf. It's not, let's say, a real event. So they're fighting that. I think a false argument, personally, because I think it's legitimate. It's high level, some of the best players in the world. But they are dealing with that on that level in terms of getting the credibility that they want. The next thing is the fact that the strength of field is not as strong as the PGA Tour, because at the PGA Tour level, you're going through many layers to get there. PGA Tour Canada, you're going through mini tours, Canadian Tour, you're going through Korn Ferry Tour, you're going through Q School, you're going through college, like you're going through all these steps, and then you get to the PGA Tour. So player 150 could win. Now, player 48 on LIV, he can't win. That guy's not winning. I'm sorry to say it. Like, you go down the list, those guys, they're not winning events, and a lot of them, like, you wouldn't make it on the PGA Tour. Some of those guys haven't made it on the PGA Tour. They haven't made it on the Korn Ferry Tour, and yet they're on LIV. So the strength of field, the lower you get, isn't as strong. So it's hard to really give them the world ranking points that they would want or feel they deserve. So they're fighting that battle too. Now, I think they do have some of the best players in the world with Cam Smith, with Brooks Koepka, with Bryson DeChambeau. DJ is up there, but not currently playing his best. Taylor Gooch is pretty good. Harold Varner's up there. And I think, the best of them is going to be Brooks, Koepka, Cam Smith. And so they've got some really, really great world-class, best in the world type players. But overall, they're dealing with that strength of field. So they're dealing with that. Now they're dealing with the fact that here's a rules violation, gray area. What did they do about it? They did nothing about it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't mention it. They didn't go back and look at it. They have rules officials there. I've seen them there. You see Slugger White out there. They have rules officials when they're going into a playoff. They have rules official when they have a question about a ruling during play. And these rules officials will watch tape so that to make sure there's nothing going on or they're aware of what's happening. This was on the broadcast. Why didn't they address it? They didn't touch it. As a matter of fact, when I was watching it live, I was like, is nobody going to say anything? Nobody said anything. There was an awkward moment of silence. Go back and watch the replay. And there's an awkward, just like a little, like, let's just not say it. Like they're looking around like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but nobody said a word. And they didn't go back and reassess Bubba a 2-shot penalty. And this is the problem. Not that I would never call Bubba a cheater because I don't think he cheated, right? I think he made a mistake and should be assessed a penalty. That's what I think. And I think LIV should go back and say, hey, this was a penalty. We missed it. We're sorry. And they might, and they should go back and reapply it and restructure and reallocate points or money because of it, because of the fact that they are trying so hard to get credibility and legitimacy. And if they let stuff like this slide, it's another arrow against them where people can say, see, they are exhibition because they don't even assess penalties when they should. This was a no-brainer. If this happened on the PGA Tour, people would be calling in or, raising their head. Everybody would go crazy. It would be wild. What people, if Patrick Reed did this on the PGA Tour, oh, forget it. We're going to get the guy. We're going to disqualify him from the tournament or whatever. There would be a 2-shot penalty at least, and people would be up in arms. So I think for the credibility of the LIV Tour and organization, they should call this penalty on themselves. I'm guessing they're going to do nothing and say nothing about it, and that is, to me, a huge, huge mistake. Let me know what you think. 1, is it cheating? 2, what should they do about it? And 3, will they do anything about it? Personally, I think they won't do anything about it. They won't even address it. And they might just I don't know. They might try not to do it in the future or show it in the broadcast. But I think they should do something just to say to the world, hey, we're legitimate. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. See you guys soon.